Welcome to our Wednesday webinar. We're joined today by a great panel and by Tom as well from iwocaPay. So we'll come and introduce all of those shortly. Just confirm a bit of housekeeping before we get started. So first of all, at the bottom of your screen, if you just sort of wiggle your mouse and have a look at the bottom, you should be able to see a sort of Q&A box and a chat box. If you just pop something in there, let us know that you can see us, you can hear us. It's great to know that everybody can sort of see and hear us and is joining us okay. As we're going throughout the webinar as well today, feel free to ask any questions that you've got within there, because we will be doing a Q&A section at the end as well, just to make sure that we get all of those covered and you go away feel like you've got all your questions answered. Phil, thanks for reaching out. So Phil can hear us. I'm not sure if anybody else can, but that's great. At least we're broadcasting live to Phil. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Tom to introduce yourself, iwocaPay, and then our panelists for today.
Hi, thanks, David. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So let's get that open and rolling. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. Yes, yeah, thank you for joining us. We're going to be running through today the process of simplifying invoice payments. So we're going to be talking about iwocaPay and how it's changing accounts receivable for good. Here's our little lovely intro screen of all of our pictures. So I'm Tom. I'm an accountant relationship manager here at iwoca. I'll be hosting, and I'm joined by a lovely panel. If you want to introduce yourself in order of how we've got the pictures. So Cheryl.
Hi everyone, I'm Cheryl. I'm the founder of Pink Pig Financials. We're a fully zero firm, fully in the cloud, and really excited to be here today.
Hello, I'm Joe from Nephos. Similar to Cheryl, we're a fully zero practice, and yeah, also excited to be here and talk about this great new product.
I'm Stuart Hurst, Director at Accounts and Legal up north, running the Manchester office, and we're a pure cloud practice, so predominantly zero, but also QBO.
Awesome, thanks guys. So the thing that obviously combines all of us is the fact that we are all interested in iwocaPay, which is what we're going to talk about today. So what we're going to cover is very simple. I'm going to run you through the impact of invoices not being paid, why that problem exists, how iwocaPay is beginning to tackle that. I'm going to show you iwocaPay, and then we're going to go into a discussion with our panel. It's important to know now that all of our panelists have seen iwocaPay, introduced iwocaPay, used iwocaPay, and have really been a part of the journey. And they've also helped scope parts of the product as well. So the insights you're going to get from them are going to be really valuable today. Again, any questions, just chuck them in the Q&A. Don't hesitate to direct a question to myself or one of the panelists. We'll make sure we get them answered for you. So the biggest statistic that we talk about here at iwocaPay a lot is that 48% of small businesses are paid late. So this data comes from Xero. And whilst it's quite a significant figure, I think it's a figure that we're all very comfortable in seeing. We've seen it a lot. We generally know small businesses are paid late, but what we tend to not necessarily see is actually the impact of of unpaid invoices. And there's the statistic there that's actually 44% of small business owners said that late payments have a negative impact on their mental health. And I think we get very focused on the businesses are paid late, and we need to solve that. But sometimes we can forget some of the extra squeezes unpaid invoices actually cause business owners. And from data that we've pulled on our side and from other reports, we found some really fascinating insights. There's currently £131 billion deficit that just hangs in the balance of unpaid invoices. And the result of unpaid invoices and the chasing that goes into that, we're finding that small businesses are losing on average a whole working week. So if you take, for example, a business that makes £400,000 a year, that time that they've lost that working week, that equates to 7.5K that business is losing through chasing up unpaid invoices. So that's why we here at iwoca are really trying to tackle that unpaid invoice problem. And the way we do that is by understanding what's wrong with the invoicing and the payment method. And the reason why is we seem to follow this archaic process of the invoice is sent, the due date is up, and then there's this long unknown period until we're paid. And it's in that long unknown period that the squeezing of the business owner begins to really happen. And that unknown there, the uncertainty, is what causes things like cash flow issues, is what causes stress. And it's just this model that we seem to follow and accept in the SME world. And when we look at actually the causes and why does the problem exist, well, one of the biggest problems to businesses getting paid is they're using a model or a payments provider that isn't fit for purpose. 80% of the businesses or business to businesses get paid via bank transfer. And when we look at the bank transfer, it's a very archaic model. It's very manually based and manually focused. And whilst doing a bank transfer, for example, it doesn't take long. There's a lot of manual steps. And the more manual steps that we add into a process, the longer something's going to take, the more percentage increase in human error. And when we look at the accountancy profession, one of the things we've systematically seen change is the reduction of manual processes. Bank statements being typed up has been replaced by bank feeds. So we're constantly removing the manual barriers, but when it comes to getting paid, small businesses are using bank transfer, which is incredibly manual. And what that does is that adds risk to the invoice because it's a disconnected flow. So what we want to do here at iwoca is tackle that. iwocaPay has created this really seamless experience, and our goal is to add infrastructure to the payments process. I think accountants do a fantastic job of supporting their businesses and understanding their cash flow, giving them their numbers. The next step is to really begin to add infrastructure to the payment side of things. So with iwocaPay, we blend the best of getting paid now and offering flexible terms. One of our biggest focuses here at iwocaPay is actually to remove the risk from the small business. We just want to get them paid. So we do that with two models. iwocaPay has pay now and pay later. Pay now is utilizing open banking, so it's secure and safe for your clients, and it's offering a streamlined and seamless flow. So I'm going to show you pay later, and you'll be able to see how that works in a minute. But pay now is removing all of those manual steps associated with doing a bank transfer or getting your card out. We're just removing those barriers and offering that in a connected flow. And then we've got pay later. One of the biggest things for small business owners is they want to be able to offer flexibility in their terms. However, if a small business offers flexibility in their payment terms, it's usually at the business owner's risk and the cost of their own cash flow. So with pay later, what we do is we give an option for small businesses to let their clients spread the cost over 90 days. The small business owner gets paid up in front, and their customer can just break down the invoice into 3 manageable steps. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you iwocaPay. One of the things that we've developed recently is our zero integration. So we have an iwocaPay dashboard where you can create pay links and send them out. However, with the zero integration, all you need to do is integrate into Xero and then send out invoices. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you my screen now. So hopefully you should all be able to see my Gmail box here.
Yeah, we can see that, no problem.
Perfect. So once you've linked Xero and you send out your invoice, this is what you're going to see. I think anybody that's used Xero will understand or would have seen this invoice here. So you click into the invoice. Now it's really important at this point. What I'm going to explain to you here is I'm going to show you pay now. I'm going to show you pay later. It doesn't matter how the customer pays. It's all iwocaPay. So I'm going to show you the landing page and go through that process there. So when I hit pay now with iwocaPay, I'll come through to this landing page. So what we've just done there is small business has pinged out the Xero invoice. their customers hit the pay now and they come through to this page. There's two people involved in iwocaPay. There is the seller, and the seller is the person that's sending out the invoices, and then there's the buyer, which is the person that's coming through here. So what we're seeing now is the buyer's journey. Just as a side note, iwocaPay is for business to business. So I'm a business utilizing this. So when it comes to pay now, we talk about the reduction of manual processes. This is where we're utilizing open banking to do just that. So I hit pay now, secure checkout, choose my bank, and then I'm going to get this QR code. All I need to do is get my phone, scan that QR code, and what's going to happen there is my banking app is going to pop up. All the information is pre-filled, and all I have to do as a customer is hit make a transfer, and I'm paid. And that invoice has been paid. We've been paid in full. So as a seller, I've offered this option, and my customer's been able to pay me straight away without the need to write out all the information, get a card, add me as a payee. All they've had to do is scan a QR code. All the hard work is done for them. They just hit pay. And at the end of that, they get a nice little receipt that they can obviously send into their bills at zero. So that's pay now. It seems incredibly simple, and it is. And that's why the demo section of pay now is so quick, because that's all pay now is. I send my invoice, I hit pay now, scan the QR code, and paid. And pay now is completely free as well. So there's no transaction cost involved in that. Now I'm going to show you pay later. So pay later is offers the ability for customers to spread the cost of the invoice over 90 days. Again, it doesn't matter how the buyer pays, the seller's always going to get paid upfront and in full. It's up to the buyer how they pay, because iwocaPay is a payment provider. So in this instance, we're going to run through the pay later. So I hit pay later, hit the secure checkout, and start the process. I'm taking a level of credit with iwocaPay when I'm spreading the cost of that invoice. So what we do here at iwocaPay is we just quickly take a snapshot of the business information, then the director information. And what that's going to enable us to do is make essentially a quick decision on that business. So within 60 seconds, that's going to enable us to say, okay, yes, this business can take on the risk of spreading the invoice amount across, and then we'll offer a decision to that buyer there and then within 60 seconds. So within 2 pages, they'll find out this is what it looks like to spread the costs. The first 30 days are always interest free, and then there's a small interest charge from payments 2 and 3. The term is always 90 days. So they've done the first part and they see this, all they do is can hit complete payment. They'll go through and do an identity check, link their debit card. So this is how we take the repayments. Then they sign digitally their loan agreement. They do sign a personal guarantee. Now, we don't always ask for a personal guarantee. We put it in the demo to make you aware, but we don't always ask for a PG. But again, sign it digitally. And then they get to this screen. So for the second time, the buyer has seen the breakdown and the costings. When they hit the approve invoice button there, iwoca is going to pay the seller in full. So if you've introduced iwocaPay to your client to use, they've pinged it out, and their client has just now used pay later, your client's just getting paid in full by iwoca. And then the buyer's gone through this really nice journey, and then the buyer has this dashboard. They can come and repay early. So for pay now, customers can pay within 20 seconds. With pay later, they can spread the cost over 90 days, and it's going to take them probably 5 to 10 minutes maximum to do that. What's really great as well is, as a buyer, if I've gone through this process once and I want to use pay later again, I don't need to go through those first couple of steps. I just need to hit pay later and I'll get my breakdown. So that's iwocaPay. What we're going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing. We're going to get on to our lovely panelists. So we're going to chat about what excites our panelists. We're going to talk through the problem they see iwocaPay solves for their clients. We're going to look at how they're going about introducing iwocaPay to the client base, the initial reaction, and I think more importantly, how iwocaPay helps bolster their current service offering and where they see it moving forward. So I'm going to start with Cheryl. What is it about iwocaPay that captivated you first and really excites you?
I think at first it was the initial ease of it. I mean, it removes all the friction from that payment process. I'm sure I'm not alone. I really can't be bothered to get my phone out and go through the whole rigmarole, setting up a payee and approving it and things like that. So the fact that it's so quick and easy to do just means I'll make the payment there and then. It's just simple, isn't it? And I think that's the same for many business owners. We just want our lives to be simple, so the simpler the better. Yeah,
simplicity. I remember in the article we did, you saying how excited you were just about a payment provider.
Yeah, I know. It is. Yeah, it seems really silly to say it, but it is. It's just, I think it's just going to speed the process up. It removes the friction. It just makes you look, as a seller, you're giving your customer these more options. They're going to love you for it. They don't want to go off and faff around setting up a new payee or doing the second payment or however many payments it is, but it's just that one little extra thing that they then don't have to do, and another reason for your customer to love you.
Well, yeah, we're going to quote you on that one. So Joe, I sent you over, so for those unaware, we have a QR code that you can scan and make a mental health donation. Joe, I sent you that QR code via email. I remember you emailed me back like, this is amazing. What did you think?
It's similar to what Cheryl just said, really. It's the simplicity of the process. Like, it's, and you sent that over and you said, look, you don't have to do it, but here's a link. And I thought it's a good charity, I'll do it anyway. And then that way I see the whole process. And it literally was a kind of two second thing to make that payment. And I think as business owners, we all want, like Cheryl just said, simplicity. Anything that causes us pain or difficulty is going to be put to the bottom of the pile because we're busy. And we've all been there where we've gone, I need to make this payment, but I can't be bothered to log on to my online banking. And when I say can't be bothered, it's not I'm lazy. It's I've got a million emails to deal with. I've got clients shouting at me, blah, blah, blah. So you just don't do it. And it's the same for clients as well. So I think that for me is the key part of it, is that it takes away a huge element of that pain point. And that's why I think it's going to be so amazing for our clients.
Yeah, I think what's really great, and especially when you're talking there, what's great is when I go from clicking the invoice in Xero all the way to scanning the app, I'm never at one point coming away from what I'm doing. I'm clicking I'm getting pushed straight through to the, oh, wow, done. And I think that's going to really help. And then, so Stuart, again, obviously, question to you, what is it about iwocaPay when we sat there and we had our initial discussion? I said, hey, look, I've got this thing. What got you excited?
Ultimately, the thing that I find keeps business owners awake at night is getting paid. The money in the bank, that's, or lack of it, is what keeps people awake at night. And for me, the iwocaPay is a bit different. It's another tool in the toolbox of payment services that puts a slightly different angle on things and gives people another option. So it's not the one size fits all, but it's a nice tool that fits in there. And the two big things are the ease of use on the buy now, and the fact there's no fees on that element is again fantastic, saves some pennies. And on the 90-day side of things is just that relief really for business owners, that once it's done at their end, it's paid, and it's iwoca's problem at that point. So again, that ability to sleep easy, and that's something that's quite different without getting entangled into the joys of factoring or taking something heavy on in terms of that. Being able to do it on an invoice by invoice basis is really, really useful.
Yeah, it's interesting. And staying on that, Stuart, you touched on it briefly there, but what are the 1 to 2 critical issues that iwocaPay is solving for your clients?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately it's getting paid faster, isn't it? It is that cash flow, particularly, for those businesses that are growing quickly. It's for me, it's two-tier. There's survivors that desperately need cash to survive, and the thrivers that are growing so quickly sometimes that cash can be short. So to have certainty around that payment is the biggest thing that it solves for me, to take that pain away. So I mean, I think the 90-day thing is great from a payment side of things, and also just the hassle it takes away, because I think money is still, talking about money and chasing it is still a taboo for so many small business owners that are often running the business themselves and doing a lot of things themselves. The last thing they want to do is A, damage a relationship by chasing money sometimes, and B, they've got other things to do and it's bottom of the list. And that kind of 90-day payment, and it's iwoca's problem now, is it's a massive relief. So that's the biggest kind of problem it solves for them, I think.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I guess, Cheryl, you work with a lot of parent-led businesses. Just being a parent is a full-time job in itself. How do you find iwocaPay helps along those points?
It's obviously the speeding up. As a parent, I find there's many things that just get pushed to the bottom of the list. So it does help to push certain things up the top of the list because it's so quick and easy to do. But also it's a case of if you are looking at a project or something, or you're trying to sell a larger scope thing to your customer, it gives you that option to spread the payment. So it's not such a big hit to your cash flow. And you can spread it over the 3 months, and it just feels like a little bit easier and more manageable, and it just removes the friction, doesn't it? And it just helps.
Yeah, exactly right. That friction, I think, is the biggest issue for most businesses getting paid, which and Joe, obviously, from your perspective, from your team's perspective, where is iwoca supporting your clients?
Yeah, obviously we sat down and did a session last week, Tom, didn't we, with our team, and they were quite quiet on the call, but as soon as they put the call down, they immediately started going, oh, so-and-so said to me yesterday about X, Y, and Z, and so-and-so said to me about this, and immediately they were kind of like, there was a bit of a buzz around them thinking, right, you know, we can actually talk to people about this, and it was interesting because one of them said, I don't want to sell, because we're huge here on, like, we won't sell apps, like we will only use apps that are right, and I'm very outspoken about ones that I think are horrendous, and they came off the call and they said, we don't want to sell another app, we don't want to sell another product. And for me, I kind of went straight back and said, but you're not selling anything. This isn't selling an app that might not work for them, or, you know, blah, blah, blah. This is something that can work, in my opinion, can work for every single business. The difference will be whether it's right for that business in terms of how they operate, but it can work for every business, if that makes sense. And from a Nefos perspective, we're not getting anything out of it, except for, as Cheryl said at the start, a good client relationship, because they're pleased with what we're doing. So that, I think, was the key part for me with this, was like, this isn't about selling an app to somebody. This is about offering them a solution to get paid quicker. And there's a huge difference in that. And that's, as soon as I said that to the team, they were kind of like, yeah, I get that. And their minds are now buzzing. And they're, you know, we're doing a lot of calls at the moment to clients. So they're bringing it up with people. And yeah, so that was the key for me, was changing their mindset from selling an app to offering a valuable service.
And that leads me perfectly on to my next point, Joe, is how you go about introducing. I think this, obviously we talk about iwocaPay, but this will be beneficial to maybe some of the firms here that might be struggling to just introduce other apps to their clients as a whole. How are you going about introducing iwocaPay to your client base?
Yeah, well, from a whole app perspective, which, like you say, is where iwocaPay would fall into it. For us, it's we've got certain key apps that we will work with in certain areas. So, you know, if someone wants an expense solution, we've got one particular app that we'll work with on an expense solution. If someone wants accounting software, it's straight to zero. You know, so we want to really build relationships with the ones that we work with. But it's all about the individual scenario. So we'll sit with the business, we'll talk to them. You know, we'll whatever they want from us is what we will give them, if that makes sense. And that all comes from conversations and relationships. So it's exactly the same with this. You know, I had a massive row with someone last year. I won't name who they are because it's not fair, but because they were like, get more clients, get more clients, get more. And I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, no matter what you say to me, I'm not doing that. I will give you clients when I'm ready. And it's the same with iwocaPay. You know, I will, to remember this, Tom, I'll put clients to iwocaPay when the time is right for that client and when the time is right for us. And that will just be through conversations, through meetings, through emails, that sort of stuff, where things will pop up and we'll have that conversation. Naturally, we will do a mail out, and we'll let people know that the service is available, because if they don't know it's there, they can't ask for it. But we're not going to ring every single client and say we want you to sign up on our iwocaPay tomorrow, because that's not how we approach things. So ours is kind of that softly approach. We do a mail out, we let people know we're doing it, and then when we're having those conversations, we introduce it when the time's right for both them and us.
Yeah, I think that's a great approach. I think, yeah, it's that case of, like you said, we got off the session last week, and all of a sudden your staff are thinking, do you know what? I've got these people here that have an issue that iwocaPay might be able to solve right now, and then the rest of it comes with the awareness piece and when that time fits. And I think, Stuart, this leads on quite well to your approach of introducing iwocaPay. You've had quite a great, almost like a systematic approach to, and we put it in the XU magazine we did with you. Could you tell us a little bit about how you're going about introing?
Yeah. So like you say, it's systematic, really, of starting with the client lists and identifying the quick wins, the easy ones, those that the ones that jump out are the ones that potentially have cash flow issues for starters are quick wins, and again, all those that again on the growth curve, really rapid. So it was quite easy. Again, we're chatting with the team on who jumped out to have that conversation. So for those ones, it was pick up the phone, have a conversation, introduce it there and then as the early adopters, if you will, on that, and as another solution. And again, yeah, we're not selling in terms of, there's no charge in terms of trying to make a profit for us in that sense. This one is such an easy rollout effectively, and requires so little in terms of our hands-on, that it's just a little value add really into help our clients become more successful really and sleep easier at night. So yeah, the quick wins were first. We do quarterly catch-ups with all our clients. So then the next thing is just putting it on as an agenda point to slowly, for those that aren't on the immediate list, that they're included and the rollout. So we've got a track of what we spoke to and who we haven't. And then, yeah, as we mentioned, the email list, it's on there. So when we send our monthly invoices, there's a newsletter of sorts that goes with that. So that gets added with that one then as well. So like Joe said, people don't know about it. And then my other side of things is we might have seen a few already on the social media front. So things like the LinkedIn and bits and pieces. So it's not just the client base, it's anyone and everyone that wants to listen to me. So yeah, that's the kind of final tier to it.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then Cheryl, you did a really great video of you actually demoing iwocaPay and shared that with clients. What else have you been doing to have those conversations?
Yeah, so similar to Joe and Stuart, really, I did that video and I did it to a blog on our website, and I've been sharing that on socials. And I included that in our monthly newsletter to our mailing list. I've also sent it out as a more direct email to all of our clients just to make them initially aware of it. And then when we have conversations with clients, like Stuart and Joe, we have regular conversations with all our clients. So where we think it's going to help them, we'll talk to them about it in more depth and probably re-demo it again and get them to actually try it as well. Because I think you can show somebody many times, but until they actually do it, they're not probably going to comprehend actually how quick and easy it is. Because I'm sure many of us see demos and just think, oh yeah, that looks okay, that looks really good, oh yeah, I'll check that out. But if you actually do it, like Joe said, once you've done it, it's just like, wow, okay, now I'm interested. So I think that's the key bit, actually getting them to try it and see for themselves how easy it is, not just us telling them.
Yeah, that's a great point. And the next question I've got, I guess it's that why. So I know, Cheryl, you mentioned about a big part of being a trusted advisor is going above and beyond to your clients and helping them with things like this. How does the conversation around iwocaPay and obviously other apps, how does that conversation boost your current service offering and make you more compelling in the market?
I think it just helps you to become more of a trusted advisor. Your clients should be coming to you before they do things to ask for your advice and your help. It's much easier to speak to us initially before they implement something, rather than going ahead and just implementing it and potentially getting it wrong or going down the wrong route. So the more you can help your client and show them how you can help them and give them these ideas, the more likely it is they'll come to you whenever they've got a problem. And okay, we're not going to earn anything necessarily through iwocaPay, but the more you help them, the more you show your clients how trusted you are and how helpful you are, that in turn is going to lead to more, because they'll be like, right, well, she can do this. What else can she do? And they'll ask more and more. And then before you know it, they're an even more loving client of yours, and they just want everything that you do because they trust you and they want you to help them.
Yeah, amazing. And Joe, how do you find that? How do you find these conversations help your service, your relationship, and your engagement?
Yeah, I mean, similar approach to what Cheryl's just touched on. I think it's always the way with these panel things. You kind of tend to get people that are very similar minded, and everyone tends to agree with the other panelists as well. But it's like it's the same sort of thing for us. It's about that relationship. Like everything we do is about relationships. We're not going to churn numbers. We're not going to try and bring on a shed load of clients at a low fee and just try and bring up numbers. That's not what we're about. We've got huge growth aspirations, but not through numbers, through quality of service. And as Cheryl said, it's another service to be able to have. And I think Stuart mentioned that toolbox. You've got a toolbox of services you can offer to your client, and if it's right for them and it works for them, it bolsters that offering that you're giving to that client. And as Cheryl said, gives them the opportunity to take more services from you because they trust what you do. Hence why we won't just sell app after app after app, because we want them to trust that the app that we're talking about or the service that we're talking about is genuinely right for them. So so that's kind of how that works. My background's industry based in manufacturing, kind of management accounting background as well. So I've not only have I seen firsthand the payment problem from an accountancy business and seeing clients' perspective, but I've seen it in house. I've sat and as Stuart mentioned invoice finance earlier, it's an expensive product that I think is great, and I think it has a lot of misconceptions in invoice finance, but it's an expensive option, and I think I've seen it on both sides of the fence, and I really, really get it. So something like this, like you said, it just adds to that offering that we're giving to the clients, just add to the services.
Yeah, great. And then Stuart, I guess, is there anything to add to those points from your perspective?
Yeah, the only thing I probably add is, similar to, we want to keep clients happy and add value and stick it into you. But the other risk of not doing things like this is for those that are surviving, they go bump and the fee disappears altogether, kind of thing, that this helps keep your fee alive. And for those that are growing, if you like we grow with them. So not just in terms of added value services, but what we're already doing. So, bookkeeping's on a transactional basis, for example. If they can grow and get bigger, we'll be looking after more transactions, ergo getting paid more per month. So this kind of stuff, although it's not it's not a direct sale, indirectly, I guess, it is helping them be more competitive, stay alive, grow, which naturally helps us. We kind of sit nicely with that.
Yeah, amazing. So I think that's all the questions that I've got for the panel. If you've got any questions for the panel, go ahead and chuck them in there, and we'll ping that across. So we'll go through. But Cheryl, if somebody wanted to have a conversation with you, chat with you, where can they find you? I'm
on most of the socials. And obviously our website, our email, if anyone wants to get in touch and have a chat, our email is hello@pinkpigfinancials.co.uk. Happy to chat to anybody. Yeah. Joe, where can audience find you?
Yeah, likewise. I'm not on the socials as much as some of the other people that I see on here, but LinkedIn, ping me a message on there, or similar, we've got a hello@nefoscounters.co email address.
Yeah, and I think it might be a little bit redundant to ask, but Stu, where can people find you?
LinkedIn is probably best. Again, website is the usual, visit the accounts and legal website for the variety of contact details. But LinkedIn you'll get a quicker and more direct response for sure.
Yeah, awesome. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to quickly run through our final couple of points, and then obviously answer some questions. I can see there's a couple of questions which I'll answer. Just to, I guess, to summarize everything we've spoken about, iwocaPay is solving the payment problem with simplicity and flexibility. I think we've heard those words used quite a lot there, which is great. And it's going to, as a firm, it's going to enable you to physically demonstrate the value you offer to your clients. And the best way, like all three of our panelists have said, and this is probably the best way, having my own experience coming from a Xero and receipt background, or should I say Dext, the best way you can start with any app, including iwocaPay, is start very, very small. Pick that one person that you can help, give them a world-class service, and then build on that. So there's the standard points. In terms of the next steps, so Alex and the XU guys, they've got a link that will enable you to book a call with me directly. What I'd love is for you to book a one-to-one. We'll sit through and say, okay, let's answer any more finite questions. What can we do at iwocaPay to help you, to help your clients? What we'll also do is we'll give you things like the marketing materials to help you with awareness. We'll roll out training to your team. We're also bringing out our iwocaPay certified introducer certification, so you can be comfortable that you fully understand the iwocaPay proposition, and you can get your staff to come across. So as opposed to just another app that you can talk about, we want to really make sure this is coupled with your service offering and also give you all the tools you need to do that. So that starts just by booking that one-to-one with me. Got a couple of questions here that I'll answer. I'll answer the ones that I've got on the screen now. So what are the costs involved? As we touched with Pay Now, Pay Now is absolutely free. Pay Later has two costs. So we have our seller costs. There's a flat 3% transaction cost at the of the invoice amount. So what happens with Pay Later is the seller gets paid in full at the end of the month. We then invoice them for that 3%. In terms of invoice values, we go from £150 up to £15,000. They're the values. For the buyer, there is a small interest charge. So the first 30 days interest free. And then it's payments 2 and 3, where there is an interest added on. The representative rate is 3.3%. And they're the only charges associated with iwocaPay. So if, for example, a buyer takes out a Pay Later and payment 2, they pay the full thing off, then they only pay the interest up to that point there. Now the question, who does iwocaPay work for? So iwocaPay works for business to business SMEs. A seller, so the person sending out iwocaPay as a payment provider, that can be any UK legal entity. For the buyer side at the moment, we're only working with limited companies partnerships. One of the questions we get around, so we have a direct integration into Xero. One of the questions we get is around the linking. So if you link Xero and iwocaPay, the linking will last as long, essentially forever, until you unlink it. And then, a question here is, how does Pay Later differ from invoice financing? So invoice financing is where the seller is essentially selling an invoice, getting those funds up front. There's still a level of risk and there's still a level of recourse on them. With iwocaPay, it is a payments provider. So the seller gets paid in full. No matter what the buyer does, the seller always gets paid in full. If a buyer has a Pay Later agreement and a month or 2, they can't afford to make that payment, there's no recourse on the seller. That's for iwoca and the buyer to resolve. So iwoca take a very, how do we help you approach? So we let the buyer know, hey, look, the payment hasn't gone through. What can we do to help? That's our first port of call. We exhaust every option to make sure we're helping the business rather than just saying, hey, you owe us this. It's how can we help you? How can we get you back on track? So there's the questions we had there. I can see we've got some live ones. So if a buyer decides to take the Pay Later option, is there a cost to the seller? Yes, I think we covered that. That's the flat 3% transaction charge. Maximum invoice. Is there a commission for clients that use the service? We can offer a small commission, but it tends to be on a case-by-case basis. It's not really our thing. We like to work with firms that want to bolster the service there. If a buyer selects Pay Later, pays in 30 days, is there a 3% transaction to the seller? So the seller fee is not associated to the buyer's interest. The seller 3% transaction charge is for us taking the risk and the charge of utilising the service offering. Will we ever offer more than 3 months? At the moment, probably not. We're probably going to stick within those 90-day terms. I haven't seen any conversations where we looking at extending that. And then, is this essentially Klarna for business? Yes, it essentially is Klarna for business. Our competitors are in the space. It is an interesting one because technically our competitors sit along people like Stripe, Go Cardless. The difference is we kind of sit in this grey area where we're not invoice financing, but we can offer some level of functionality, nor are we a card payment provider. So the similar products would be if you mix the credit card payment and Go Cardless together, that's where iwocaPay sits. It's this new, exciting B2B space. I think I've answered all the questions. Last question, are there any costs to become a partner? So no, there are no costs involved to become an iwoca introducer. There's no costs to have an iwocaPay account. The only costs are that transaction and that interest charge. So I think I've covered all the questions there. If you've got any more questions, you can follow up with me personally, and obviously the link will go out for you to book a one-to-one with me. I just want to thank our panelists for attending. Really appreciate your time and thank you for being involved, and everyone that's attended and sat here with us. Really appreciate your time and thank you.
Brilliant, thanks for that, Tom. And yeah, just to clarify, we will be sending an email out which has got a recording of this as well. So if you want to sort of recap, or if any of your team want to watch it, that's quite popular, then you can feel free to obviously pass the link around to those so they can catch up on it as well. And also one of the things is, as well as following the links through that we'll send through after this, if you head over to xumagazine.com, you'll see some of the articles that we've done with iwoca recently around iwocaPay, and just some of the case studies that we've done and how it's sort of used, and that should give you some more insight as well, and content that you can share with your team. But thanks very much for joining us today. Thanks for the panelists. I hope everyone has a good rest of your Wednesday and a good rest of your week, and speak again soon.